Paul Ryan gave his acceptance speech last night for the VP nomination for the Republicans. He was clearly nervous in the beginning. He skipped a couple of words. He kept swallowing really hard. I was like, man, if this dude gets any more nervous, somebody needs to be Saving Private Ryan. All right, so I thought, it was riddled with lies. I'll explain that later. But first, I want to talk about why I thought it was an effective speech. He had an emotional appeal, and I thought that some of his rhetoric worked well, not just with GOP, but perhaps good enough to trick some independents as well. So first, he starts with his story of his life. Let's watch.
Your nomination is an unexpected turn. It certainly came as news to my family. And I'd like you to meet them. My best friend and wife, Jana, our daughter, Liza, and our boys, Charlie and Sam. The kids are happy to see their grandma, who lives in Florida. There she is, my mom, Betty.
There was an extra kid in there for a while. They're like, oh, wait, that's not one of the Ryan kids. Get it. He's like, oh. It was a girl. Anyway, so look, hey, isn't this a lovely family? Now, every politician does that, but he made a pretty good turn about his mom here. Let's watch.
Mom was 50 when my dad died. She got on a bus every weekday for years and rode 40 miles each morning to Madison. She earned a new degree and learned new skills to start her small business. It wasn't just a new livelihood. It was a new life. And it transformed my mom from a widow in grief to a small businesswoman whose happiness wasn't just in the past. Her work gave her hope. It made our family proud. And to this day, my mom is my role model.
Now, look, you might say, hey, you know what? Apparently she took public transportation to get her degree, and she used the public roads, among many other things, let alone the public money going to the university that she went to rebuild her life. In fact, you can look at Paul Ryan's mom's career and say, you didn't build that. Okay. But no, look, in all seriousness, good for them, and that's a positive story, nothing wrong with it. And in fact, of course, the reason that they're doing this is to reach out to women voters. Now, their policies about women's rights are horrible. Paul Ryan voted against the Lilly Ledbetter Act. So he doesn't want his mom to have the same wages as a man would for the same job. So that's pretty devastating, right? Put her ass back on the bus and have her work for less than a man would. But hey, I got a nice mom. In fact, Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, is there. He got a little teary-eyed during that moment. Let's check it out.
When Governor Romney asked me to join the ticket, I said, let's get this done. And that is exactly what we are going to do.
You see Walker crying there, and that was after the mom part of the speech. It took a little lag there because he had to rub the onions in his eyes. And then, the mom, we love her. Take away their rights. Reproductive rights. Hey, Mrs. Ryan, we're going to tell you what to do with your body. Oh, my God. Okay, but listen, putting the kidding aside, if you don't know the policy behind all these issues, etc., you listen to Paul Ryan, and it seemed like a heartwarming speech in some ways. And even his attacks against President Obama were not as plainly vicious as the others, were misleading enough to maybe get people to reconsider or wonder if Paul Ryan is actually looking out for them. He had good lines like, we don't want to just divvy up the wealth, we want to create new wealth. Now, that's not really true if you look at their tax code, but when you say it as a line, people go, yeah, wait a minute, it's Obama, he's dividing up the wealth, he wants the wealth to go to the guys getting welfare, oh man. And so it's a good speech if it's effective, right? If it gets people to say, hey, wait a minute, is he right about that? And he mentioned, 4 years and what has President Obama done. That's probably the best line of attack that the Republicans have. And then he said, look, you got to take personal responsibility. And President Obama blames everybody else and doesn't want to blame himself. When you just hear that, you might say, like, hey, maybe that makes sense. He did have 4 years. Why is he blaming other people? Well, the reality is he got left with a giant recession, right? No, it's not to blame other people. It's to say that all the jobs lost under Obama were in that first period where it was the jobs lost under the recession. Since then, he has added 4.5 million jobs. Now, I think he could have done more, but when you ask him, hey, why did you lose those jobs? It's very fair to say, I didn't lose the jobs. That was your recession. For every single piece of legislation you voted, Paul Ryan, to make that recession happen, along with all the other Bush Republicans. So that's not blaming anybody. It's explaining exactly what happened. But Paul Ryan negates that by saying, yeah, he's blaming people. No, that's it. It's all his fault. Ha ha. And so that's why I thought in a lot of ways that the speech was effective. Let's talk about marriage here. He did a little hit on that.
The man who will accept your nomination tomorrow is prayerful and faithful and honorable. Not only a defender of marriage, he offers an example of marriage at its best.
Yeah, you know, he had a lot of religious references in the marriage, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it goes to the underlying thing of like, we don't want certain kinds of marriages. If you're going to be happy and a loving couple, but you're the same gender, got no interest in you, Mitt Romney is the best example of a marriage, yada, yada. So he's hitting those cultural themes as well.